You're live.
Thanks. Welcome, everyone. This is Kelly Cutchin, and this is our regular monthly Trainers Consortium call for the DOE Weatherization Assistance Program Trainers Consortium. I'm glad you all could be here. We have some big announcements this month. Once we get through our regular network announcements, we're going to spend the bulk of this call doing something that in the previous few years I've been doing earlier in the year or sometimes even December, but it seems like these last few months there were just more pressing issues. So we aren't getting to it until now, but for the main event, I really want to do that exercise where we look back on the topics we discussed this past year and brainstorm what all you want to get out of the calls over these next 10 months of the calendar year and kind of help us get topics on the roster so we can start planning and organizing calls. But before we get to that, I'll go through with our regular network updates. Let's start with, I think I saw Mary Stewart from IREC. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Thanks, Kelly. I have an announcement from IREC regarding the National Clean Energy Workforce Alliance effort that IREC is launching. Our goal is to make it easier for employers to find, develop, and retain skilled workers. And we also want to increase diversity across all of the clean energy sectors. So we're launching this alliance to work with workforce stakeholders. And our hope is to get rid of any duplicating of efforts. We want to share best practices and resources. We want to address workforce gaps and challenges in the area of workforce development for the clean energy sector. And so we want to hear from folks in this group. If you have any ideas about critical gaps that we need to dive deeper into with this alliance, please feel free to get in touch with myself or Laura Jean at IREC as well. And you also have the opportunity to participate in our first training providers convening that's happening on March 3rd. And I will put the registration link for this in the chat if folks are interested in participating. So we'd love for your feedback and participation as we move forward. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Mary. That sounds like a really great opportunity. And you'll put those links in the chat while we're on here today?
We'll put, yep, I just put the registration link for the webinar that's taking place on March 3rd.
Perfect. Thank you. Next up, let's get our updates from NASCAS. Jonathan, are you on the call?
Yes, I am here, and I will try to be brief. I know I say that every time, and I never am, but this time I got a good feeling about it. NASCAS has our upcoming winter training conference coming up, February 28th through March 3rd. Registration is live on our website. We have been up to a little bit of advocacy of late. And I'll tell you a little bit more about this in a moment. We're working on weatherization readiness. And we've also been working on LIHEAP legislation that's been proposed by Representative Jamal Bowman and Senator Markey. And that, I believe, will be introduced shortly. We held our quarterly member webinar last week, and that recording and the slides are up on our site. There's been a lot of recent WPNs and memos. We have all those linked in that presentation, but be aware that 2 of the memos were updated last week. And then, many of those WPNs and memos have had training and supporting documents added to them. So be a good idea to look back at those. NASCAS has 4 working groups going right now. The Racial Equity Working Group and the Workforce Development Working Group were started last year. We had the kickoff meeting for the Weatherization Readiness Working Group, which I will be leading. And tomorrow, we will have the kickoff for the LIHEAP and Weatherization Coordination Working Group. And the last thing is DOE requested a survey on supply chain issues, and we sent that out in a news blast last week, I believe. So if you haven't responded to that, please do so. That's it for us. Thanks.
Thanks, Jonathan. While you were chatting, since I had that link, I went ahead and dropped the link to the conference registration. I misspelled registration, sorry, and info in the chat, but also feel free to add links to that survey if you want, if that's handy,
certainly.
but no pressure.
Yes, I will put it in there. And if anyone has any questions, please reach out.
Always. Well, that was very fast this time, actually, even though it's a lot to cover.
You know, I say that and then I just end up talking really fast. So if that wasn't, you know, understandable, just reach out and I'll walk you through it.
Okay, next up, let's go with Bill from Oak Ridge and then Juliana from NREL. So Bill, you had a couple updates for us?
Yep. Nothing overly specific related to Weatherization Assistant, web-based. We're working on NEAT multi behind the scenes. So those of you out there using the public testing site, WA New, or state-specific site, they'll be transparent to you. You won't see any visual changes, and nothing significant or anything that would impact audit runs at this point. One other thing I did want to note that we didn't mention in the past, we have added another programmer to our team, Paul Simmons over here at ORNL, who was previously a contractor working on Weatherization Assistant web-based, and now we've got him fully integrated with the team. So he's playing a leading role in the ongoing development work there. So nice to have that addition on board as we continue to push forward. And that's it from over here.
Great, thanks. And congratulations on adding someone to your team. I know it seems like everybody's hiring right now and it's really hard to find the right people. So kudos. Sure, a lot of envy out there right now. Juliana from NREL, did you have any updates for us?
I do. So I believe I have 3 main updates. The first is around the 2022 continuous improvement workshops. We are going to be having 2 workshops, both virtual. The first one is going to be May 4th, and that is going to focus on workforce recruitment and retention. And then the second one will be August 17th, and it's going to focus on kind of the future of WAP. So evolving processes, innovative approaches, new technologies, that kind of thing. And unlike in previous years where we basically just brought all of our participants together and kind of see how the dialogue evolved, we're going to have a few short presentations interspersed within the dialogue. And so we're looking for examples of workforce development, recruitment or boot camp models that have been particularly successful, or if you all have any technological or process innovations that you think you might want to share a little bit more broadly with the network as either resources or models to emulate. We are looking to highlight some of those so that we can communicate to our participants a bit more of what's how things are evolving. So that's one thing. The call for applications for those workshops is going to go out March 1st. So there will be additional detail and I'll be sure to send that out to this group. But if any of you have models or programs or approaches that you think would be useful to share, please send those my way. I'll put my email in the chat. So that's one update. Second one is NREL is going to be conducting some job gap analysis. So we're going to be doing some data collection around baselining the current workforce and hiring needs in the next 3 to 5 years. And so we'll be doing short questionnaires with WAP grantees, sub-grantees, training centers, and also some subcontractors. And so we'd like to ask if a few of you would be willing to look over our questionnaire to give us feedback just to make sure it's clear. And then later this spring, we'll be sending that out to this group. So if anyone's willing to review a questionnaire tear it apart, help us make it better, I'd love to get some support there as well. So that was number 2. And then my last item was just DOE asked us to pass along the reminder that the site supervisor credential recently rolled out by BPI is not required or endorsed by DOE for WAP. They've asked us just to make sure that message gets out there. So those are my 3 updates. If anyone has questions, feel free to pop them in the chat or send me an email. I put my email in the chat. That's it from me.
Thanks, Juliana. That's a lot. So I will include that in the notes, but yes, please do add your contact. Oh, there you go. You already did it. Great. It sounds like there are a lot of opportunities for this group to have some input, whether it's on those continuous improvement workshops or, you know, for those of you on the call, if you haven't been involved at this level before, having the opportunity to review and, like Juliana said, tear apart and make recommendations on that questionnaire that goes out is really valuable because, you know, if you've ever seen stuff that goes out and you think, oh, what were they thinking? If they had asked it this little bit differently, we would get such better information from that. Like, this is your chance to help be that extra set of eyes that makes sure that the questionnaire is, you know, what you think, or closer to what you think it needs to be. Maybe they nailed it right away, but if not, this is really helpful. And I know from having been in the position of Juliana's team, once you look at something so long, it can be really hard to see it clearly. So you really are giving them a gift by offering to do that review. So I hope some of you will do that. Also, thanks, Juliana, for that reminder about the site supervisor credential. I know it hasn't come up on these calls, but I do know that different folks at DOE and the training centers have been getting questions about that. And so if anyone wants to talk more about that, we definitely can. I know we have a couple folks from BPI on here today and usually. If there are no questions of any of that, I'll jump into my regular program updates. Any questions before I jump in? Okay. If you are writing anything in the Q&A panel, I can't see it, use chat, please, just FYI. But I'll assume there are no questions. So like Jonathan said, I mean, I like to review any guidance or memos that have come out since the last call we had, and we've had 3 memos that 2 of them don't really have any, well, they don't have much to do with you as training entities, but some of your other roles that you fill, they do play a role. So they sent out memo 086, which was about the enhancement and innovation funding opportunity, but we've talked about that on a few calls. So hopefully you'll have seen that by now. There's one, memo 87 is about a new unique entity identifier, which I don't think will be of much concern to you. The other one is, it isn't something from within WAP, but WAP forwarded a memo letting everyone know about the USDA Rural Energy Pilot Program, which is a grant opportunity to help expand renewable and clean energy to rural communities through USDA. They got a few $1 million. So if you're involved in stuff like that, definitely check out memo 88 for more opportunities. Hold on, I will share my screen. Gonna be messy. So here's memo 88. And just, you know, in general, I think spending some time around the guidance and memos page is good for you to stay informed. If you aren't familiar, I'll just do a quick reminder. It's kind of hard to get here, but if you bookmark the site, it's good. Then you can just sort by the active, what's active right now, and it narrows it down. And if you're looking for a specific topic, you can click here. And sometimes it's a little glitchy, so you might want to double check with someone who's been around for a while, but usually it's pretty good. And just make sure you're kind of up to the date on what's out there. And like Jonathan said, a lot of them have, this one doesn't, because it's more of like, hey, heads up, someone else is offering this. But a lot of our guidance in the last few years comes with additional training stuff that you can also then take and edit. So there's videos, and then there's a lot of stuff that you can kind of take and edit PowerPoints if you need to train your state managers or trainers on stuff. So aside from just the dry memos, a couple of other updates. We've been getting job openings like usual. The climate research, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting my acronyms. If you want to work with Paul Francisco and Lori Shoup and their team in Illinois, they have openings for a bunch of different trainers. The Indoor Climate Research and Training Team, thank you. And Paul wanted me to make sure and say, and I'll include this in the notes, but it says on here that it requires a bachelor's degree, but if there are applicants that come in that are just a great fit and they don't happen to have a bachelor's degree, you know, but they have like other experience or just life experience that makes them a good fit, Paul and Lori can request a waiver to that bachelor's degree requirement. That's something that kind of the university puts on them. So don't let that dissuade you. And if you pass this on to your networks, please pass that along with it. Also, the Georgia State office sent me an opening. It looks like it's kind of a combo weatherization program manager and monitor. So kind of an all-in-one. You're in Atlanta traveling like you do for being a monitor. And I'll include the link in the notes, but please also pass this around to your networks if you see that, if you have networks where people might be interested. Okay, that's it for my network updates, I think. Let me just double check. Yep. Okay, so jumping into our main events, I hope everyone will take part in the conversation and unmute yourself. So this last year, I pulled up this list. Can you all see this on my screen?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Thanks. So these are the topics that we covered on our monthly calls this last year. There was a lot around COVID. I thought about even including the year before because it feels like time stopped somewhere in early 2020. Not sure what that has to do with, but we talked about virtual certification and testing. We had Amanda and Wade come on and talk about how they were using the badges toolkit and I think a couple others. We were planning way ahead to think about what we need to do for this influx of funding that's coming, and a lot of your ideas helped lay the groundwork. I know sometimes it can feel like things are moving slow, but it really does help. We had the team tell us about low E storm windows in WAP. We might be hearing more from them soon. Workforce development is a perennial topic. We did a couple more like instructionally related things, lessons learned in virtual training, and then we did that Camtasia and Articulate tutorials. We talked about that e-robot competition and some creative learning activities as kind of a separate, that was a twofer. The wood stove safety was a real popular topic. And then at the end of the year, we did that DIY ventilation chat about the Corsi Rosenthal boxes and other options for kind of getting people feeling safe and healthy back in their offices if you were dealing with that situation. So I just wanted to do a quick review of what we talked about and then open it up. I guess I like to get topics from you, but before we get into like specific brainstorming of topics, I'd like to just kind of take the pulse on the group as a whole and find out, like, are you still finding this group and these calls helpful and useful? You know, are there angles or directions, just generally speaking, that you would like to see us focus a little more on than we have been in the last few years? Just toss out what you're thinking. You can put it in the chat or speak up. Always enjoyable and informative. Thanks, Pete. Maybe I'll put it this way, like, you know how at the end of a meeting, sometimes they do that, the triangle and the circle. So like the triangle would be like, what should we change, if anything? What should we do differently? And then what should we keep the same? And don't worry about hurting my feelings. I know I'm a delicate flower sometimes, but I can take it. Maybe I'll prime you a little bit. So the notes afterward are helpful, so keep the notes. Do you all like, I know this has been kind of a relatively recent addition, just the last like half dozen years or so, but do you like getting those network updates at the beginning from, NREL and Oak Ridge and BPI when applicable, and NASCASP and all that? Do you like the format overall, I guess? Are there things you would want to see different? Sherry says yes. Yes to the updates. Okay, all right. We keep the updates, like the format. Okay.
Kelly, this is Rick Karg.
Hey, Rick.
Hello, everyone. I have something that's on my radar, and it is on things you went over this last year: workforce development challenges and strategies. I know that in the state of Maine, there are millions of dollars that in the next 10 years or so will be pumped into extending the weatherization program and also developing and extending a Maine home performance program. I expect that because of climate change, that's going to be going on in many states. And the low-income weatherization structure is all over the country. It's already set up, and I expect we're going to see, and you probably talked about this, another ARA-like ramping up that will be around much longer than ARA. And it just seems to me that this group would be a great group to keep tabs on that kind of thing, what's going on state by state, so that everyone has a better sense of it. So I'm feeling a bit out of touch with this group, and maybe this is already being done. But if not, I suggest it as something that you might consider. Thank you.
Thanks. So less so like a topic of a specific call and more of kind of one of the things that we could do and maybe talk about once we learn more, but more of like one of those projects that we do. Is that what you're thinking, Rick?
That's what I'm thinking. Yes.
Okay, cool. And I think that would be a really good opportunity to coordinate closely with NASCASP, because I know they've been really going at the, yeah.
Yes.
Thanks. I'll just write this down. All right. All I'm getting is mostly positive stuff from the questions about the format and what we're doing now so far. Yeah. Thank you for that note, Karen. I will add that to the notes. And so I'm guessing from all the positive feedback that you're still finding this useful. I know I find it extremely useful. I love having this group just be consistently engaged, because it seems like when emergencies do come up, like COVID just came out of left field for us, then being able to pull together and put together, well, this was 2 years ago now. It's crazy to think, but well, almost 2 years ago in April 2020, when just came up out of nowhere. And oh, Ben, Karen. And this network just rallied and we put together, I don't know if some of you might have joined since then, but we put together this huge database of virtual online training so that we could keep our employees engaged and learning and not have to kind of furlough them when everybody was figuring out how to get them to be able to safely work. And I think that that wouldn't have happened, or it would have been way more work if this group weren't here. So I see the value in keeping everyone engaged and kind of on deck for when stuff comes up. But I do want to make sure that the calls that we have over the course of the year, you know, they're for you. They're kind of your prize for staying engaged. So if they aren't useful, if you aren't getting value from them, then let me know so we can figure it out. So I guess might be a good time to start brainstorming ideas, and they can be, you know, there are no bad ideas, just toss out. They can be really general. If it's more like, you know, I'd like to learn more about learning and how the brain works, or if it's a specific topic of like, I'm really interested in sealing ducks in a certain kind of climate or something like that. Just toss out ideas and I'll grab them all as much as I can. And then I'll leave a little time to maybe ask some clarifying questions. And then the next step is I'll put it into like a survey monkey like we've done in previous years and let you all weigh in on what's most interesting to help shape the year. So what kind of topics I want to see? What about, are there any studies in the works that we could? Training center operations, okay. Electrification.
Kelly, this is Juliana from NREL. I know one of the areas that we're looking at is looking really at the intersection between weatherization and the broader home performance industry, and what resources and tools are needed to, you know, bring technologies to be more applicable to weatherization, or just the partnerships and coordination to make sure that we're not necessarily siloing when the entire you know, energy efficiency sector is ramping up and trying to train people up and that kind of thing. So you know, that's fairly broad, but I think, you know, getting a little bit more into how do we, or like what are some of the good ways of coordinating outside of just the WAP bubble, I think that would be really valuable.
Great, thanks. I'm trying to keep track of everyone's initials who recommends stuff so that if I need more clarification later, I can get in touch with you. If you're wondering about the extra letters.
So Kelly, this is Paul. You asked about whether there are studies coming along, and three topics that our group has been, well, two topics that our group has been working on, one that I just personally have been working in that might be of interest to folks. One is the radon stuff that resulted in the revised health and safety guidance. And then also we've been doing some stuff in New York on multifamily indoor air quality and ventilation in some of the, especially in New York City. So, you know, what the outcomes are there. And then we also have one building in Chicago. And then the one I've been doing just on my own is somebody touched on it before, like on electrification. It's kind of equitable electrification and how electrification and equity, you know, the extent to which they don't necessarily go together. and what we might need to do. That's not the first two that I mentioned, I think, are more directly relevant to training organizations. The other one is more of if people are interested, just kind of intellectually or whatever, because we don't really train on electrification and equity, but it certainly impacts our network.
Yeah.
Bill from Oak Ridge here. I'd like to, reiterate what Paul's saying there on electrification, equity, and decarbonization. These are all topics that are coming up in the modeling field. And while it might not impact training now, I think as we're seeing the ramp up, as we're seeing bill funding, and as we're seeing some of these other goals potentially being pushed on WAP, I think it's something that as trainers we'll have to address at some point, not immediately, but I think starting to talk about that this year is a good place to be.
Great, thanks. And do you think that is kind of a standalone thing, or maybe a spin-off of the electrification and equity?
I think that, I think they all go together. These are three goals that seem to get kind of packaged together and have result in different recommendations. But figuring out how to manage that, I think, is unfortunately gonna fall at kind of the program level, and may even impact some of what trainers are doing too.
Right. It could maybe be a catch-all category of WAP's role addressing climate goals, and equity seems to kind of catch all of that stuff. Okay, I'll put this into better shape before I send out the survey.
Yeah, Kelly, just to kind of make it be blunt, is some of what people want to do regarding electrification basically is saying climate change is so important to address that we're going to make poor people pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And not only poor people, but we're also going to make poor people pay for it. There are some really clear equity concerns there.
Definitely. Those are great topics. Keep them coming.
Kelly, this is Rick Karg again. Going on what Bill just mentioned about decarbonization, I think that is a topic that is probably a good thing to think of by itself, because it might, it might give us a new metric for how we look at things. And it's not necessarily an equity issue. I think it's important enough to have it stand alone. I'm not saying what Bill said, the relationship he brought up or you rephrased is not the right relationship, but I do think carbonization will, when we look at that more thoroughly, and ASHRAE's doing a big project on that now. They'll release a position on that fairly soon. That will probably change the way we look at things in weatherization. And I think that makes it big enough to look at it alone as well as in combination with other issues like equity.
Should I put you on as a potential presenter for that topic, or would you, if we reached out, would you have recommendations, do you think? I don't want to put you on the spot.
I think so, yes.
Okay.
I could have recommendations. Yes, I would have. I'd probably assign Paul to it.
You're supposed to wait till he's not on the phone before you.
Yeah, I should have. Yeah.
I know, Rick, you always have my best interest at heart.
I do, Paul.
It seems weird. I think we've gone more than a year since we've had an ASHRAE 62.2 call when I remember when I first came on in 2010 with this group, it was a hot topic year after year. Some years we would have it more than once. They were always very, very, very heavily attended. What else is going on? So we have a few studies. Really good ideas so far. This is why I love this. A bunch of stuff that I would definitely would not have thought of.
Kelly, this is Suzanne.
Hey,
Thinking from a format perspective, it'd be kind of cool if we could do, you know, something that's more like the big picture, the equity, the electrification, and then also have a technical piece where it's something, I think Alan suggested something that training center centric, where, hey, maybe this is a cool new idea someone has for, you know, developing a hands-on activity related to something. So have something that's more broad and thought-provoking, and then something that's very functional. Because I know you usually break up the time we have together into some chunks, and that might be a way to do it.
yeah, and I think people really liked them for a while. Remember, we were doing those 7x7s, which was kind of that when we could. The hard part for me was I feel like I'm always asking the same ones of you to just present over and over and over. But when I just put out a blanket kind of request, I think a lot of people maybe feel like they don't have something to offer, even though I know they all do, and it's hard to get people to volunteer for that stuff. But it is a good idea. I should definitely pick that back
Well,
up.
maybe put it on your survey when you're asking us to prioritize some of the list. Maybe have an open, say, I know you all have something to share. What would you be
Oh,
willing
that's a
to
good
share
idea.
on? For a 7x7 is a commitment, but it's not a huge commitment.
Right, it's 7
It's a
slides.
more doable commitment for people, I think.
Thanks. That's a great idea. I'll do that. Okay. Anything else? So first, I guess since you brought that up, Alan, when you said training center operations, I actually interpreted that as kind of the less of the actual training and more of the kind of recruitment, scheduling, planning. Did I misunderstand that?
No, I think that what you say there is part of what I was getting at. For an example that I might come up with, I think equity in electrification is a really important topic, but I'm trying to see how that relates to my, day-to-day mission as a training center manager, and how can I improve my trainings with innovative techniques, what's going on in other parts of the world. So I think, or other parts of the country. So I think Suzanne kind of summarized things very well and kind of captured the gist of my message.
Okay. Okay, good. So, so that sounds like kind of more in the, like where we've done before, where you're sharing like training tips or techniques or creative like classroom activities or ideas for props, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
that kind of thing. And I know that's been a part of it.
Yeah.
Maybe more is better in some cases, but just my thoughts. I wanted to contribute something to the discussion. So there you go.
Yeah, I do. I always wonder if I'm like hammering that stuff too hard, but I mean, I find it like I'll never write the perfect learning objective, you know.
And I think different people have different needs, you know, some people are
Yeah.
newer, some people are older, and a topic that's really relevant and important to one is old news to another person. And I'm sensitive to that being relatively new, but that captures it. Thanks.
Okay, great. All right, what else are there? So I guess since we are talking about that, if anyone has any specific things on that, in that realm of, I know one year I split up our topics into kind of like general purpose, like talking about electrification and equity, like that, general purpose, guidance updates, things like that. And then I had like a, you know, this is like instructionally relevant stuff of like how to actually be a better trainer, write a better quiz, do that kind of stuff. Or I guess I called it, oh, I can't remember what I called it. What's the word? You'll all know. I'm having a brain fart right now. The word for, it's not, it's the word for adult learning. Shoot.
Andrology?
Andragogy. That's right, not pedagogy. Thank you. Andragogy. Yeah, so any specific topics in the realm of andragogy that you all would like to see covered, whether it's in like a short little tech corner or a full topic, toss them out there or throw them in the chat. Okay, I see, Nicholas, you had said something about the badges. Do you want just maybe another update on what people are doing with that stuff? Not seeing anything. Nicholas, if you're talking, I can't hear you. I will just write down badges and we'll see if others agree. We could just get update on how people are implementing. Okay, let's see how many ideas we ended up with here. We might not even have to do a survey. Oh, we only came up with 8, you guys. Wait, no, 9. Oh dear. Ignore these. Anyway, it's 9. Come on, give me a couple more so you have at least a little bit of leeway to not vote for stuff that you're just totally not interested in. Because we have 10 more months in the year. Workforce development, what people are doing now. Okay, thank you. Well, okay. Good, good, good. All right, Bill, you're going to miss my big announcement. Okay. Caleb, I'll fix all the spelling when before I send it out, hopefully, knock on wood. What's that?
Kelly, related to the badges, I see there's a comment there about the usefulness of the badges, but also, you know, what types of different iterations of badging are people using? You know, are they just using pieces of it, or do they have a whole program around it? Is it something a state's doing versus some agencies are just picking up? It just would be interesting to know how it's being utilized.
Great.
I saw heat pumps, but not heat pump water heaters. I don't know if that's a topic to add.
Okay. And then Caleb, like I said, no bad ideas. If it's not a good fit for the group, then people just won't vote for it. Breeding topics is breeding funding is a big topic. Okay, I'm gonna steal the last 9 minutes of this call. Of course, if you have more ideas for calls, send them my way. I probably don't even need this whole 9 minutes, but I just wanted to take it because I have a rather big announcement, and you guys are my favorite group. But at the end of this month, it will be my last day with SMS. I'm leaving, and so I wanted to take this opportunity to just tell you how much I have enjoyed working with you all. Just, you're the best. It's been the best part of my job for the past 13 years. And I know I say it all the time. I gush over you guys all the time, but you're just so generous and so smart, and you just make it all worth it. So I wanted to just say thank you for being here and introduce Ben Chakowski, who many of you know. He is on the call with us today, and he is going to be picking up a lot of my ongoing projects. And so one of the only reasons I am even able to step away is because I knew that you would be in good hands with Ben and not let this group fall by the wayside. So Ben, are you here? Would you like to say hello or anything to the gang?
Oh crap! You sort of set me up there, Kelly. Yeah, I've been. Hi, everybody. Nice.
We should have practiced. We should have practiced.
Yeah. Really nice to see everybody again. It has been a while, and I've been lurking in the shadows and keeping up with Kelly over the last few years as I took a little hiatus. So I'm wishing Kelly the best, and they are really huge shoes to fill. I've got a lot of catching up to do, and I will do the best I can. And I know I won't do as well as Kelly, but I'll try. I'll sure try.
All right then. Well, I guess I didn't need the whole 9 minutes. Now I wish I had written some limericks or haikus or something to send you off. Ben, looks like you're getting some nice welcomes to the group. Thank you all for the best wishes. Yeah, so Ben is with SMS now. And Ben, do you want to just go ahead and drop your email in the list for everyone so they have it already?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that right now.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so Ben's a great fit. We're so lucky to get him. He is famous from Weatherization TV. If you don't remember him, you can see his mug there, both mugs. Thanks, Ben. And his email is in the chat right now. So I'm going to start including him over the next few weeks in every kind of, if you send something just to me, when I reply, I'll copy Ben just as a way of kind of onboarding him and getting everyone comfortable and familiar with that. What, you know, once I step down, he's going be the go-to guy. So anything you would have come to me with, go to Ben with, and if he can't answer like me, he'll know, he'll figure out who to put you in touch with to get to that information that you need. So thanks, Juliana. Yes, I am taking some time off to relax. No, Ray. Oh, who's that? Pete. No, I'm not going to CETA. Thank you, Ray. Yeah, now I just don't know what to say. We have 5 whole minutes left. What should we do? It's my last Trainers Consortium call, at least for a while. Oh, how about somebody's got to have some good jokes that are safe for work. Thank you, Fitzen.
I've got a joke.
Oh, good. Thank you.
All right, here we go. So can anyone tell me, or Kelly, I'll pick on you. Can you tell me how much a roof costs?
No.
No, nothing. It's on the house.
But that's a good one.
All right, I've got another. Why did the Scarecrow receive the Nobel Prize?
Ooh, I know this one. Because he was outstanding in his field.
Yes. And also one for my from my 6-year-old niece. What has 4 wheels and flies?
What?
A garbage truck.
Oh, Erica sent me one, hold on, yesterday if I needed a backup. It's a totally corny dad joke. But keep them coming if you got any. This is the best. This is the best going away party. Oh, what do you call an uncooked noodle?
What?
Ramen. Blame Erica. Oh, okay. Caleb sent one. Do you know there are more airplanes in the ocean than submarines in the sky? It's plain to see. Planesea. Ugh, that one's groan-worthy. All right, we need to go out on a high note. I hope someone saved a good one. One more good one. Oh, hold on. How do those ones start where it's like a priest, a rabbi, and a something walked into a bar? What's the third religious figure? This isn't a joke. I'm seriously asking.
An imam?
Okay. Okay. So the joke goes, a priest, a rabbit, and an imam walked into a bar. The bartender said, "What'll you have?" The rabbit said, "Don't look at me. I'm only here because it's spell check." Sorry, autocorrect. Get it? Thank you, Caleb. Let's see, I got another one about clowns. Oh, she sent it to everyone. If you're ever attacked by a group of clowns, always go for the juggler. All right, well, with that, I know I'll still be around for through the end of the month, and I'll send out an official note so that I don't want to lose touch with you all just because I'm stepping away from this. I really mean it when I say you are the best group and some of my favorite people. So hope you won't be strangers. We'll be in contact all through the end of this month, and then I will be seeing you over the emails. But thanks again. Thanks for everything. It's been a blast, and I'll talk to you later. All right, bye.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Kelly.